Have you ever found yourself in a whirlwind of emotions, trying to make sense of someone's actions, or rather, their lack of action? You're standing there waiting, hoping, yearning for that sign, that moment where you finally feel seen, heard, and cherished. But instead, you're met with silence. The cold space between you grows, and your mind races with confusion. You start questioning everything. Did I say something wrong? Was I too much? Too little? Why am I being ignored when all I want is to be noticed? Let me tell you something that might sting a little but is undeniably true. If someone truly wants you, they won't always show up in the way you expect. In fact, sometimes the very act of them pulling away, of them being distant, is their way of testing something much deeper, testing your patience, your worth, your resilience. It's a dance we often don't understand, but it's an essential part of how we come to recognize our own value and strength. So let's take a step back from the hurt and the confusion and see what's really happening when they start to ignore you. You might just find that it's not about you at all. It's about the path to discovering your own worth, independent of the games and the mixed signals. It's about understanding the space they leave behind and how it opens up room for you to step into your own light. Now, let's dive deeper into this and see how these actions can be a mirror, reflecting not just their intentions, but your own power. When someone pulls away from you, when they ignore you, there is this intense and overwhelming feeling that rises in your chest. It's like a tight knot in your stomach, a weight pressing on your heart, and you can't help but wonder, why? The silence that follows their absence cuts through the noise of your life and becomes deafening. You're left grappling with questions that make you second-guess yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I too much too soon? The confusion floods your mind, and before you know it, it feels like you're drowning in your own thoughts. But here's the truth you need to hear. Even if it's hard to swallow, their silence is not about you. It's not about something you've done wrong or how little you mean to them. It's about something much bigger. It's about the space that is created between you, and how this space allows you to finally see clearly, to understand your own worth, and to step into your own strength. There is power in emotional distance, more than you could possibly imagine. In this world where we're constantly seeking connection, validation, and love from others, we often lose sight of the most important thing, our own sense of self. The emotional distance that grows between you and someone who's pulling away creates a space where you can breathe. A space where you can finally take a moment for yourself. A space where you are no longer consumed by the need to gain someone else's approval or attention. When you're left alone in the silence, it forces you to confront your own thoughts, your own desires, and your own worth. And this is where the magic happens. When everything is loud, when everyone is clamoring for your attention, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are. It's easy to get lost in the noise, to get wrapped up in the validation of others, and to forget that your value is not defined by how much someone wants you or how much they show up for you. The absence, the silence, is like a vacuum that strips away the distractions. It's only in this emptiness that you can begin to hear your own voice, your own needs, and your own desires. You are no longer caught in the web of someone else's approval. Instead, you are forced to rediscover yourself in a way that you haven't in a long time. You are not defined by their absence. You are defined by your own strength and resilience in the face of it. The truth is, we spend so much time trying to understand the actions of others. We try to dissect why they act the way they do, why they pull away when we want them the most, and why they seem to keep us at arm's length. But what if the answer isn't in their actions? What if it's in how you react to them? What if their pulling away isn't a sign of rejection, but rather a catalyst for your own personal growth and transformation? It's not about them. It's about you. It's about what you do when they pull away. It's about how you take the space they've created and turn it into something beautiful and empowering. When someone ignores you, it can feel like a punch to the gut. It can feel like you're being discarded, overlooked, or forgotten. But what if that space isn't meant to hurt you? What if it's meant to give you the opportunity to realize that you don't need anyone else to validate your worth? That silence is the universe's way of telling you, this is your time. This is your moment to grow. This is your chance to shine. The emotional distance between you and someone else is not a punishment. It's a gift that allows you to see yourself in a new light, a light that isn't dependent on the actions or the approval of others. It's easy to believe that when someone is distant, it's because you're not enough. But the truth is, emotional distance is often a reflection of their own fears and insecurities. People pull away when they are afraid of being vulnerable. They pull away when they don't know how to handle their emotions or when they are uncertain about what they want. But that's their journey, not yours. And your journey is to understand that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need to chase someone's attention to feel worthy. You don't need to fight for someone's love to know that you are deserving of it. When someone pulls away, it's an opportunity for you to remember that your worth is not determined by someone else's actions. Your worth is inherent. It's something you carry with you, regardless of who is or isn't present in your life. This emotional distance is a powerful moment of reckoning. It's a wake-up call, urging you to step back and examine where you've been placing your energy. Have you been giving too much of yourself to someone who isn't able to meet you halfway? Have you been chasing after someone who doesn't see your value? This silence, this emotional space, is your invitation to stop chasing and start living. It's your opportunity to reconnect with yourself and remember who you are without the need for someone else to affirm it. When you stop chasing, you open yourself up to something even greater, the ability to stand firm in your own value. You begin to understand that your happiness, your peace, and your worth are not dependent on someone else's presence in your life. In the silence, you are no longer defined by their attention. You are no longer seeking approval or affirmation from them. You are standing in your own light, proud of who you are and confident in your own strength. And that's when the real magic happens. That's when you begin to attract what you truly deserve, someone who sees you, values you, and wants to be there for you, not because you're chasing them, but because they recognize your worth. Emotional distance is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you are being given the space to grow, to rediscover your own worth, and to reclaim your power. When you can embrace this silence, when you can sit with the discomfort of being ignored, you open yourself up to a deeper understanding of who you are. You realize that you are enough, that your value is not based on someone else's actions, and that you are worthy of love and respect, no matter who is present in your life. So, the next time someone pulls away from you, don't see it as a rejection. See it as a gift. See it as a moment to reflect on your own strength, your own value, and your own worth. See it as an opportunity to grow, to heal, and to step into the person you were always meant to be. The silence may sting, but it also has the power to set you free. When you find yourself being ignored by someone you care about, it can feel like the world is crumbling beneath your feet. The silence between you and them is deafening, and it can stir up all sorts of painful emotions. You start questioning your own value, your worthiness, and whether you truly matter to them. In those moments, it's easy to feel rejected, unimportant, or invisible. But what if the truth behind their emotional distance isn't about you at all? What if their ignoring you is not a reflection of your inadequacies, but instead a reflection of something much deeper within you? A chance for you to understand your own self-worth. We often look outward for validation, for someone else to tell us that we are worthy of love and attention. We place our value in the hands of others, believing that if they care for us, if they show us attention, then we are deserving of affection. But what happens when that attention suddenly disappears? What happens when someone you care about distances themselves, leaving you alone in the silence? The pain of feeling ignored can cut deep, but it's also an opportunity for you to reclaim your power and rediscover the most important thing you can ever have, your self-worth. When someone pulls away from you or ignores you, it doesn't mean that you are unworthy. It doesn't mean that you have done something wrong or that you are less deserving of love than anyone else. In fact, their emotional distance can be an opportunity for you to understand something incredibly important about yourself, something that is often hidden beneath the surface. This moment of isolation, when you're left alone in the quiet space they've created, is a chance for you to reconnect with who you truly are and recognize the value you have within. It's easy to get lost in the cycle of trying to please someone else, to mold yourself into what they want, and to measure your worth based on their actions or opinions. But when they pull away, when they stop responding or withdraw from your life, it forces you to take a step back and look at yourself without the distractions of seeking their approval. The pain of being ignored is not about what they are doing to you. It's about what you are doing to yourself. It's about how much of your own value you have placed in their hands and how much of yourself you've given away in the process. You see, when you place your worth in someone else's hands, you are giving them the power to either build you up or tear you down. You are giving them control over your emotional state. But the moment they pull away, they take that control with them, and you are left feeling empty, lost, and confused. This is where the real lesson lies. You don't need anyone else to define your worth. Your worth is inherent, and it's not determined by how someone else treats you or whether they give you their attention. You are valuable simply because you exist. Being ignored can be a wake-up call, a moment of realization that you have placed too much of your energy into someone who may not be able to see your value. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from others, especially those we care about the most. We want to feel loved, cherished, and wanted. But when that love seems to vanish, it's a stark reminder that your sense of self cannot be tied to someone else's actions. You must learn to recognize your own worth without needing someone to constantly affirm it. This is not to say that their absence doesn't hurt or that their emotional distance is easy to navigate. It's painful and it stings. But it's in these moments of pain that you have the opportunity to grow. The space they create when they pull away forces you to look inward and confront the feelings and beliefs you have about yourself. Are you enough without their validation? Are you deserving of love, respect, and care even if they're not the ones providing it? When you can answer yes to these questions, you begin to realize that your worth is not something that can be taken away by someone else's actions. Your worth is rooted in who you are, not in how much someone else shows up for you. The emotional distance that someone creates by ignoring you is not just a reflection of their feelings. It's a mirror reflecting your own relationship with yourself. It's a reflection of how much you've been relying on someone else to tell you that you are enough. And when that source of validation is suddenly cut off, it's a chance for you to reclaim your own self-worth. You are not defined by how much someone else cares for you or how often they show up in your life. You are defined by your own love for yourself, your own respect for who you are, and your own belief in your own value. The absence of someone else's presence is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It's an invitation to step into your own power and embrace the truth of your worth. When you stop seeking external validation and start focusing on validating yourself, you will begin to see that their absence doesn't diminish you. It doesn't lessen your value. In fact, it gives you the space to recognize that you don't need anyone to define your worth for you. You are enough on your own. And when you understand this, you begin to stop chasing after people who don't see your value, and you start attracting those who do. You begin to realize that the only person who truly needs to recognize your worth is you. When you do, you stop settling for less than what you deserve. Being ignored isn't a reflection of your lack of worth. It's a reflection of your need to reconnect with yourself. It's a reminder that your value is not tied to someone else's actions. It's an opportunity to stop seeking external approval and to start loving yourself unconditionally. The more you learn to love and respect yourself, the less affected you will be by the actions of others. You will stop looking for validation in others and start finding it within yourself. The pain of being ignored is real, but it's also temporary. The more you focus on nurturing your own sense of self-worth, the less it will sting when someone pulls away. You will realize that their distance doesn't diminish your value. It only reveals the strength within you to stand tall and proud of who you are. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you're worthy. You are worthy simply because you exist. The silence they create is a chance for you to fill that space with your own love, your own strength, and your own recognition of your incredible worth. And once you understand that the emotional distance between you and anyone else will no longer hold power over you, it will become just another moment in your journey to rediscovering the most important relationship you will ever have, the one you have with yourself. When you stop chasing after someone who has pulled away or ignored you, it's as if a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. You begin to realize that there is so much more to life than trying to earn someone's attention or affection. In fact, the moment you stop chasing is the moment you take back your power. You are no longer defined by the way someone treats you or whether they show up in your life the way you want them to. You are no longer dependent on someone else to make you feel worthy or valued. The truth is, by constantly chasing after someone, you are telling yourself that you don't believe you're enough. You're telling yourself that your worth depends on their actions, on their attention, and on their approval. But when you stop chasing, you take back the control that you once handed over. You stop giving your power away and start reclaiming your sense of self. And that is when things begin to shift. It's easy to get caught in the trap of chasing after someone who seems distant or indifferent. We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, if we just give more of ourselves, we will finally earn their love, their attention, or their respect. But this is a dangerous mindset to adopt because it keeps you stuck in a cycle of constantly seeking external validation. You are never going to find true happiness or fulfillment by chasing after someone else's approval. The real power comes when you stop chasing. It comes when you turn your attention inward and start focusing on your own needs, your own desires, and your own worth. When you stop chasing someone, you give yourself the freedom to breathe again. You stop living your life in constant pursuit of someone who may or may not be capable of meeting your needs. You stop adjusting your life, your actions, and your expectations to fit into someone else's world. Instead, you start creating your own. You begin to realize that you are enough on your own. You don't need anyone to complete you or make you feel worthy. You are whole, just as you are. The more you focus on your own life, your own dreams, and your own goals, the less you will be affected by someone else's inability to give you what you need. It's in these moments of withdrawal that your life begins to shift. When you stop chasing someone, you make room for something greater to enter your life. You make space for the people and experiences that truly align with who you are. By removing the distractions of trying to earn someone's love or attention, you open yourself up to the possibility of attracting the right kind of energy into your life. You start to recognize that the people who are meant for you will come into your life naturally. You won't have to chase them. They will be drawn to you because you are standing in your own power, embracing your own worth, and living your truth. Chasing someone can sometimes feel like an addiction. It becomes a habit, a pattern that you fall into without even realizing it. The need for validation becomes so ingrained in your behavior that it's hard to imagine living without it. But once you make the decision to stop chasing, you begin to free yourself from this cycle. You begin to see that your worth is not dependent on the approval of others. You begin to see that you are worthy of love, respect, and admiration simply because of who you are, not because of anything you do for someone else. When you stop chasing, you start living for yourself, not for someone else's validation. This shift is incredibly powerful because it allows you to tap into a level of self-love and self-respect that you may not have experienced before. You start to understand that you are deserving of all the love and happiness in the world, not because you are trying to earn it, but because you already possess it within yourself. You begin to realize that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need to chase after anyone to prove that you are worthy. You already are. This realization is liberating. When you stop chasing, you stop doubting yourself. You stop questioning your worth and stop trying to prove yourself to someone else. You start living your life on your own terms, without the need for someone else's approval. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you begin to attract everything you have been seeking. You begin to attract people who value you for who you truly are. You begin to attract opportunities that align with your passions and dreams. You begin to attract the kind of life that you've always wanted, but that you've been too busy chasing to notice. There is an undeniable peace that comes when you stop chasing. You no longer feel like you are in constant pursuit of something that may never come. You no longer feel like you are running a race that you can never win. Instead, you begin to realize that everything you need is already within you. You already possess all the qualities you need to succeed and to live the life you desire. The more you focus on yourself and your own growth, the less you feel the need to chase after anyone or anything. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will come to you effortlessly without you having to work yourself to the bone to earn it. When you stop chasing, you stop settling for less than you deserve. Too often, when we chase after someone, we ignore the red flags, the signs that this person may not be able to give us what we need. We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, things will get better. But when you stop chasing, you allow yourself to step back and assess the situation clearly. You begin to recognize your own value and refuse to settle for someone who cannot meet you at the level you deserve. You no longer feel desperate for love or approval. You know that you are worthy of the kind of love that is abundant, fulfilling, and reciprocal. Stopping the chase is also an act of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your own needs and desires without compromise. It's about acknowledging that your time, energy, and love are precious, and they should be given to people who appreciate and respect them. When you stop chasing, you stop wasting your energy on people who are not capable of valuing you in the way you deserve. You begin to understand that your worth is not up for negotiation. You are not someone to be won or earned. You are someone to be respected and cherished. Finally, when you stop chasing, you give yourself permission to heal. Often, when we are chasing after someone, we are ignoring the signs that we are not being treated the way we deserve. We are overlooking our own needs in favor of trying to fulfill someone else's expectations. But when you stop chasing, you create space for healing. You allow yourself to feel the pain, to grieve, and to move forward without feeling like you have to keep proving yourself to someone else. You give yourself the grace to let go of what no longer serves you and make room for the things that will bring you peace, joy, and fulfillment. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start living for yourself. You take back your power, your peace, and your happiness. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you and begin to validate yourself. You stop measuring your worth based on someone else's actions and start measuring it based on your own belief in yourself. And that is when your life begins to shift in ways you never imagined possible. When you stop waiting for someone to come around, you allow yourself the freedom to live your life without being tethered to someone else's timeline. There's a profound power that comes from choosing to live for yourself rather than for the hope that someone will change or that things will improve. Waiting for someone to come around can drain your energy, your joy, and your sense of self-worth. You become emotionally invested in the idea of what could be instead of accepting and embracing what is. The truth is, life doesn't wait for anyone, and neither should you. We spend so much time waiting for others to meet us halfway, for them to come around and realize how much we care, how much we're willing to give. But what happens when they don't? What happens when the person you're waiting for never shows up, or when the change you're hoping for never comes? The answer is simple: you are left waiting. And in that waiting, you lose pieces of yourself. You lose your joy, your peace, and your ability to move forward. Waiting for someone to come around puts your life on hold, making you feel as though your happiness is contingent on their actions. But when you decide to stop waiting, you reclaim your power and your independence. You take back control of your life and stop allowing someone else's behavior to dictate your emotional state. Waiting for someone can feel like a form of hope, like you're clinging to the belief that things will get better. It's easy to justify waiting by telling yourself that it's worth it, because you believe in the potential of the relationship. You may tell yourself that if you're patient enough, if you give enough time, the person will come to their senses and realize what they have in you. But what if that time never comes? What if they never come around? What happens then? The truth is, waiting for someone to change or to return to you is not only exhausting, it's also a form of self-sabotage. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of uncertainty, constantly wondering if today will be the day they reach out, or if this is the moment they'll finally realize how much you mean to them. But while you're waiting, your life is passing by. The opportunities, experiences, and relationships that are meant for you are waiting for you to embrace them. But you can't embrace them if you're still holding on to the hope that someone will come around. When you stop waiting, you allow yourself to step into your own life, fully present and fully engaged in the world around you. You stop living for the future, for what could be, and start living for what is. The person you're waiting for may never arrive, and that's okay. It's not about whether they show up or not. It's about realizing that your life is yours to live, whether or not they're a part of it. You can't put your life on hold for someone who isn't showing up the way you need them to. And when you stop waiting, you release the emotional burden of trying to force something that may never be. It's incredibly freeing to accept the truth that you don't need someone else's presence to be happy. You don't need their affection to feel worthy, and you certainly don't need their love to complete you. Your life is complete as it is, and the more you stop waiting for someone to recognize that, the more you begin to see your own worth. This is the moment when you realize that you don't need anyone to tell you that you're enough. You already know it. And when you know that, you stop waiting for their validation, their attention, or their love. You stop expecting someone else to define your happiness. You begin to understand that you can create your own joy, your own peace, and your own fulfillment, regardless of whether someone else is there to share it with you. When you stop waiting, you start living in the present moment, free from the constant cycle of hoping and wishing for something that may never happen. You stop holding on to the past, to the memories of how things used to be, and you start embracing what is in front of you. Life is happening now, and you deserve to be fully immersed in it. When you stop waiting for someone to come around, you make room for new experiences, new people, and new opportunities. You open yourself up to the possibility of growth and change that doesn't depend on anyone else. Your life is yours to shape, and when you stop waiting for someone to walk beside you, you realize that you have the strength and the resilience to walk your path alone, and that's more than enough. Waiting for someone is a form of emotional dependence. It's a reliance on someone else's actions or decisions to determine your happiness, your sense of worth, and your peace of mind. But the truth is, your happiness can't be dependent on anyone but yourself. No one else can give you the peace and fulfillment that you are capable of giving yourself. The moment you stop waiting is the moment you take full ownership of your emotions, your life, and your future. You stop giving someone else the power to dictate how you feel. Instead, you reclaim that power for yourself. You realize that you don't need anyone else to complete you. You are already whole, already enough. This doesn't mean that you stop loving or caring about the person you're waiting for. It simply means that you stop putting your life on hold for them. You stop defining your happiness by their presence or absence. You learn to love them without the need for them to change, to love them without sacrificing your own well-being, and to love them without compromising your sense of self-worth. You realize that you don't need them to be happy. You are already happy because you have learned to embrace and love yourself fully, just as you are. Stopping the wait doesn't mean that you stop caring about someone. It means that you stop putting your life on pause, waiting for them to make a decision, to change their behavior, or to show up in the way you need them to. When you stop waiting, you give yourself permission to move forward. You give yourself permission to embrace the future, to pursue your dreams, and to create a life that brings you joy, regardless of whether they are a part of it. Waiting for someone to come around keeps you stuck in a cycle of uncertainty and frustration. It keeps you emotionally invested in someone who may never meet your needs. But when you stop waiting, you free yourself from that cycle. You stop living in the hope of what could be and start living in the reality of what is. You stop chasing after something that may never come and start focusing on creating a life that is fulfilling, abundant, and full of joy. When you stop waiting, you realize that you are enough, that your happiness is in your own hands, and that your life is yours to live on your terms. When you stop waiting for someone to come around, you stop giving away your power. You stop allowing someone else's actions to control your emotional state. You reclaim your sense of self, your peace, and your happiness. You stop putting your life on hold and start living fully in the present moment. And when you do, you'll realize that the only person you ever needed to come around was you. You are already enough. You are already whole. And when you stop waiting for someone else to show up, you'll discover that you've always been everything you needed to be. When you start seeing your own worth, everything changes. It's not about waiting for someone else to recognize your value. It's about realizing that you are already enough, just as you are. The truth is, no one else can define your worth but you. So often, we look outward for validation, for someone else to tell us that we matter, that we're deserving of love and respect. We let the opinions of others shape the way we see ourselves, and that's where we make the mistake. The only person whose opinion truly matters is yours. When you start seeing your own worth, you stop seeking validation from others and start living authentically, unapologetically, and fearlessly. It's easy to forget your worth when the world around you is constantly sending messages that tell you that you're not enough. Society teaches us that our value is tied to what we do, how we look, and how much we can achieve. We're told that we need to prove ourselves to earn our place in this world. And when we don't measure up to those expectations, we feel inadequate, like we're falling short. But the truth is, your worth isn't based on what you do or how you look. It's based on who you are at your core. You are valuable simply because you exist, because you have a unique perspective, a unique voice, and a unique purpose in this world. Your worth is not something that can be earned or taken away. It's an intrinsic part of who you are. When you start seeing your own worth, you stop looking for external sources of validation. You stop seeking approval from others because you've learned that you don't need anyone else to tell you that you're enough. You begin to understand that your worth is not determined by the opinions of others, but by your own self-perception. And when you see your own worth, you begin to make different choices. You stop settling for less than what you deserve. You stop allowing people to treat you in ways that diminish your value. You start to set boundaries, because you know that you deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and love. Seeing your own worth also means accepting yourself as you are, flaws and all. We are often our own worst critics, focusing on our perceived shortcomings and weaknesses. We look in the mirror and see everything we wish we could change, everything that doesn't measure up to society's standards of beauty, success, and happiness. But when you start seeing your own worth, you realize that your flaws don't define you. Your imperfections are what make you human, what make you unique. They are part of your story, and they are part of what makes you valuable. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. You are worthy just as you are, flaws and all. When you start seeing your own worth, you stop seeking validation from others because you no longer need it. You begin to realize that you are the only person whose opinion matters when it comes to your value. You are the one who gets to decide how much you're worth. And when you see your own worth, you start to walk in confidence, knowing that you are deserving of everything good that comes your way. You stop apologizing for who you are, and you start embracing your true self. You stop hiding your light and start shining brightly, unapologetically. You stop dimming yourself to fit into someone else's expectations and start living for yourself. Seeing your own worth also means recognizing that you deserve love, not just from others, but from yourself. So often we give love to others without thinking twice, but we forget to love ourselves. We put everyone else's needs above our own, thinking that we have to earn love, that we have to prove ourselves worthy of affection. But when you start seeing your own worth, you realize that love is something that you should give to yourself first. You don't need to earn love or prove that you're worthy of it. You are deserving of love simply because you are human. And when you love yourself, when you recognize your own worth, you start to attract the kind of love that is genuine, fulfilling, and reciprocated. It's not always easy to start seeing your own worth. It takes time, effort, and a shift in perspective. For so long, we've been conditioned to seek external validation and to base our worth on what others think of us. But the moment you start seeing your own worth, everything shifts. You stop depending on the opinions of others to feel good about yourself. You stop measuring your value by external factors like your job, your appearance, or your relationships. You start measuring your value by your inner strength, your character, and your ability to love yourself unconditionally. When you start seeing your own worth, you begin to make choices that align with your true self. You stop settling for toxic relationships, for people who don't appreciate you, and for situations that drain your energy. You stop accepting less than you deserve because you know that you are worthy of the best. You start to raise your standards, not because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you know you are deserving of respect, love, and happiness. You stop compromising your values, your boundaries, and your self-respect to please others. You start living your life on your own terms, knowing that you are enough exactly as you are. When you start seeing your own worth, you also start to let go of the need for perfection. You stop chasing after an idealized version of yourself that doesn't exist. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize that everyone's journey is different and that your value isn't defined by how you measure up to others. You embrace your uniqueness and begin to celebrate the qualities that make you special. You stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start creating your own path, one that is authentic to who you are. Your worth is not tied to your past mistakes, your failures, or your shortcomings. It's not about how much you've accomplished or how much recognition you've received. Your worth is about the love you give, the kindness you show, and the strength you carry. It's about your ability to keep going even when things get tough. It's about your resilience, your courage, and your ability to rise above the challenges life throws at you. When you start seeing your own worth, you begin to appreciate the journey you've been on, the lessons you've learned, and the person you've become. You stop looking back at your past with regret and start looking forward with hope, knowing that you are worthy of all the good things that are coming your way. When you start seeing your own worth, you start to understand that you are deserving of success, happiness, and peace. You are deserving of all the love, respect, and opportunities that the world has to offer. You are deserving of a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and purpose. And when you start seeing your own worth, you stop holding yourself back. You stop doubting your abilities and start trusting in your potential. You stop waiting for someone else to recognize your value and start recognizing it for yourself. You become the architect of your own life, knowing that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. It's time to stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward. It's time to stop letting others define your worth and start defining it for yourself. When you start seeing your own worth, you begin to live a life that is full of self, love, confidence, and empowerment. You stop seeking approval from others because you know that you are already enough. You stop settling for less than you deserve because you know that you are worthy of the best. And when you start seeing your own worth, you begin to attract the love, respect, and success that you've always dreamed of. When you understand that nothing lasts forever, you begin to approach life with a different mindset, one that is grounded in the present, one that values the moments you have, and one that lets go of the fear that comes with the uncertainty of the future. The truth is, everything in life is temporary. Relationships change, seasons pass, circumstances evolve, and even the emotions we experience shift. This understanding can be liberating if you allow it to be. Instead of holding on to something with a tight grip, fearing the loss of it, you learn to appreciate what you have in the moment without the anxiety of what may or may not come next. You see, nothing lasts forever, and that's okay. In fact, it's beautiful because it reminds us to cherish what we have while we have it. We often get caught in the idea that if something is good, it should last forever. We want love to remain the same, friendships to endure the test of time, and good moments to stretch on without end. But in reality, life is constantly shifting. The people we meet, the relationships we form, and the paths we take are all part of an ever-changing landscape. When we hold on to the idea that things should remain constant, we risk missing the beauty of the present moment. We become so focused on preserving something that we lose sight of the joy and the lessons that come with change. Nothing lasts forever, and that's the very thing that makes each moment special. When you recognize that nothing is permanent, you stop taking things for granted. You begin to appreciate the small moments that make life rich. The quiet conversations, the shared laughter, the simple joys of being alive, they all become more meaningful when you realize that they won't last forever. And in that appreciation, you become more present, more connected, and more grounded. The fear of losing something or someone doesn't consume you anymore because you understand that change is inevitable. And in that change lies the opportunity for growth, new experiences, and new beginnings. This understanding also gives you the freedom to let go. We often hold on to people, situations, or things because we fear losing them. We cling to relationships that are no longer serving us, to jobs that drain our energy, to memories that keep us stuck in the past. But when you understand that nothing lasts forever, you begin to see that it's okay to let go. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means making space for something better, something that aligns with who you are becoming. It's about recognizing that your growth, your happiness, and your well-being are more important than holding on to something just for the sake of holding on. Letting go is not always easy, especially when it involves people or things we have invested time and energy into. But when you accept that nothing lasts forever, you realize that holding on to something that is no longer meant for you only holds you back. You are allowed to evolve, to change, and to move forward. You don't have to stay in a situation or relationship just because it's familiar or comfortable. You can choose to step into something new, something that brings you joy, peace, and fulfillment. And when you make that choice, you find that the fear of letting go becomes less powerful. You start to trust that life has a way of guiding you toward what's best for you, even if it means moving away from what no longer fits. This perspective also changes how you experience relationships. When you recognize that nothing lasts forever, you start to value each person you meet for who they are in the moment, not for who you want them to be in the future. Relationships, whether romantic or platonic, are fleeting in their own way. People come into our lives for a reason, but their presence may not last forever. Instead of holding on to the idea of forever, you start appreciating the present, the laughter, the shared experiences, the learning, and the love that exists in the now. You stop trying to control the future and allow relationships to unfold naturally without the pressure of making them last forever. And in doing so, you create space for more meaningful connections because you're no longer tied to an unrealistic expectation. In the same way, the things you once thought you needed in order to be happy may lose their significance when you realize that nothing is permanent. The material possessions, the achievements, the titles, all of these things are temporary. They are nice to have, but they don't define who you are. When you let go of the need to cling to things for the sake of security or validation, you begin to see that your true worth comes from within, not from external circumstances. You start to prioritize the things that really matter. The relationships, the experiences, and the moments that make life meaningful. The pressure to accumulate more, to reach higher, to achieve more lessons, because you realize that happiness doesn't come from what you possess, but from the way you live and the love you give. The fear of loss is a natural part of being human. It's easy to become attached to the people, places, and things that we value most. But when you learn that nothing lasts forever, you can release that fear. You can love without clinging, live without expectation, and experience joy without the need to control the outcome. It's a release of attachment, not love, a recognition that the beauty of life lies in its impermanence. It's about learning to live fully in the moment, appreciating what you have, and accepting that it's okay for things to change. In fact, it's necessary for growth. When you understand that nothing lasts forever, you stop living in the fear of what might be lost and start embracing the beauty of what is. You stop worrying about the future and begin to live with a sense of freedom. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you realize that the perfect moment is now. You stop fearing change because you understand that change is the only constant. You start to trust that no matter what happens, you are capable of navigating life's twists and turns. You trust yourself, you trust the process, and you trust that the best is yet to come, even when things seem uncertain. This realization also shifts the way you approach challenges. Life will always have its ups and downs, but when you understand that nothing lasts forever, you learn to take challenges in stride. You recognize that no matter how difficult things may seem, they are temporary. The pain, the setbacks, the obstacles, they are all a part of the journey, and they will eventually pass. In the midst of hardship, you find strength in knowing that it won't last forever. You keep moving forward, not because you know exactly what's ahead, but because you trust that things will improve in time. You develop resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, knowing that nothing lasts forever, not even the hardest of times. When you see that nothing lasts forever, you also learn to cherish the good moments even more. You stop taking them for granted and start savoring every moment of joy, every moment of connection, and every moment of peace. You realize that these moments are precious and that you should hold on to them not with fear, but with gratitude. You learn to appreciate the beauty of life in all its forms, its triumphs and its challenges, its love and its loss, its joy and its sorrow. You stop living for the future and start living for today, fully present and fully alive. In the end, when you accept that nothing lasts forever, you gain the freedom to live authentically. You stop worrying about controlling the outcome and start enjoying the journey. You stop fearing the loss of people, things, and experiences, and instead, you embrace the impermanence of life as a gift. You learn to love freely, to live fully, and to let go when the time is right. And in doing so, you create a life that is rich with meaning, purpose, and joy, knowing that every moment is a precious gift that should be cherished while it lasts. When you choose to prioritize your own happiness, everything in your life starts to shift in powerful ways. Too often we allow external circumstances, the opinions of others, and the demands of the world to dictate how we feel about ourselves and our lives. We place other people's needs ahead of our own, hoping that by pleasing them, we will find our own peace and contentment. We think that by putting others first, we are being selfless and virtuous. But the truth is, true selflessness comes from a place of knowing that your happiness matters just as much as anyone else's. When you choose to prioritize your happiness, you are not being selfish. You are simply choosing to live in alignment with your own values, desires, and needs. It's not easy to prioritize yourself. The world often tells us that we should always put others first, that we should be self-sacrificial, and put our own needs on the back burner. We are taught to seek approval, to give more than we receive, and to make others' happiness our responsibility. But the truth is, when we make ourselves a priority, we can show up more fully for the people and situations that matter most to us. We cannot pour from an empty cup. If we are constantly neglecting our own well-being, we risk burning out, becoming resentful, and losing sight of what truly matters in our own lives. It is only by caring for ourselves first that we can be there for others in a meaningful and sustainable way. Prioritizing your own happiness means letting go of the need for external validation. It means learning to be your own biggest supporter, to recognize your worth, and to acknowledge that your needs, wants, and feelings are valid. Too often, we base our happiness on what others think of us or how they treat us. We seek approval, acceptance, and recognition, thinking that these external factors will bring us fulfillment. But when you choose to prioritize your happiness, You stop relying on others to define your worth. You understand that your happiness is not dependent on someone else's opinion of you, and you begin to create a life that reflects your own values and desires, not someone else's. When you prioritize your happiness, you begin to set boundaries. You stop saying yes when you want to say no, and you stop overcommitting to things that drain your energy. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. They allow you to protect your time, energy, and peace of mind so that you can focus on the things that truly matter. Setting boundaries is not about being rude or dismissive. It's about protecting your well-being and ensuring that you are not overextended. When you prioritize your own happiness, you become more intentional about the way you spend your time and energy. You begin to recognize that you have the power to choose where you invest your resources, and you make sure that you are investing them in things that nourish and fulfill you, rather than deplete you. Prioritizing your happiness also means letting go of guilt. We live in a culture that often teaches us to feel guilty when we take time for ourselves or when we say no to others. We are told that we should always be available, always be giving, always be sacrificing for the good of others. But when you choose to prioritize your happiness, you realize that it's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put your own needs first. You understand that by taking care of yourself, you are better equipped to care for others. You are not being selfish. You are being responsible for your own well-being. And when you let go of guilt, you give yourself the freedom to live authentically and to make choices that are in alignment with your true desires. One of the most important aspects of prioritizing your happiness is learning to be comfortable with your own company. We often seek happiness outside of ourselves, through relationships, achievements, possessions, or external validation. But true happiness comes from within. It comes from learning to love and accept yourself, to enjoy your own company, and to find joy in the simple moments of life. When you prioritize your happiness, you begin to cultivate a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on anyone or anything else. You find contentment in the present moment, and you realize that you don't need to constantly seek external sources of happiness. You have the power to create your own joy right where you are. When you choose to prioritize your own happiness, you begin to see life through a different lens. You start to focus on what makes you feel alive, on the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and peace. You begin to say yes to the things that make you feel good, and you start saying no to the things that drain you. You stop worrying about what others think, and you begin to make decisions based on what feels right for you. Prioritizing your happiness means aligning your life with your values and desires so that you can create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. You stop living for others and start living for yourself, and in doing so, you create a life that is meaningful and purposeful. Prioritizing your happiness also means embracing self-care. Self-care is not just about taking bubble baths or going to the spa. It's about taking intentional actions to nurture your mind, body, and soul. It's about making time for the things that rejuvenate you, whether that's reading a book, going for a walk, meditating, or spending time with loved ones. When you prioritize your happiness, you understand the importance of self-care, and you make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. You realize that taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Self-care is an investment in your well-being, and when you make that investment, you are better able to show up as your best self in all areas of your life. As you prioritize your happiness, you begin to create a life that is more aligned with who you truly are. You stop living according to other people's expectations and start living according to your own. You stop trying to please everyone and start honoring your own needs and desires. You realize that your happiness is worth fighting for, and you make the conscious decision to do whatever it takes to create a life that brings you joy. You stop making excuses and start taking action to make your dreams a reality. Prioritizing your happiness means making choices that are in alignment with your values, your passions, and your purpose. You begin to take ownership of your life and stop letting fear or self-doubt hold you back from living the life you deserve. When you prioritize your happiness, you begin to attract the things and people that align with your energy. You attract relationships that are supportive, uplifting, and fulfilling. You attract opportunities that allow you to grow and thrive. You attract abundance in all areas of your life, whether that's financial abundance, love, or personal growth. When you are happy and fulfilled, you radiate positive energy, and that energy attracts more of the same into your life. By prioritizing your happiness, you are sending a powerful message to the universe that you are ready to receive all the good things that life has to offer. And as you continue to prioritize yourself, you find that your life becomes richer, fuller, and more meaningful than ever before. Ultimately, prioritizing your happiness is about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing that you are the creator of your own reality and that you have the power to choose what brings you joy. It's about taking responsibility for your own well-being and making choices that support your mental, emotional, and physical health. It's about giving yourself permission to be happy, to live authentically, and to follow your heart. When you prioritize your happiness, you become the best version of yourself. You become stronger, more confident, and more fulfilled. You become someone who is not only capable of creating a life of joy and purpose for yourself, but someone who inspires others to do the same. Prioritizing your happiness is the greatest gift you can give yourself, and it's the greatest gift you can give to the world. In the end, choosing to prioritize your happiness is not just a decision, it's a declaration of self-worth. It is the acknowledgement that your peace, joy, and well-being are just as important as anyone else's, and that you deserve to live a life that aligns with who you truly are. When you make the conscious choice to live for yourself, to care for your mind, body, and soul, and to let go of the need for external validation, you step into your power. You create space for growth, fulfillment, and love in your life, and you begin to radiate an energy that attracts all the good things you deserve. This decision isn't about being selfish, it's about being authentic. It's about honoring your needs, desires, and dreams and making choices that reflect your true values. The world may try to convince you that your worth is determined by how much you give, how much you sacrifice, and how much you please others. But the reality is your worth is inherent. You were born worthy of love, respect, and happiness, and when you prioritize your own joy, you become more capable of offering your best self to the world. As you continue to prioritize your happiness, remember that life is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, but with each step you take in living authentically, you are creating a life that reflects your inner peace and purpose. Keep moving forward, trusting yourself, and honoring your needs. In doing so, you will attract the life you deserve, one filled with love, abundance, and lasting fulfillment. Always remember, your happiness is not just a privilege, it is your birthright. And as long as you make it a priority, the universe will conspire to make sure you experience the joy, peace, and love that you are worthy of.